Yo, ASAP Rocky just did the unthinkable on stage, in front of thousands of people, with 3 babies at home by Rihanna. Grabbed the megaphone, looked into the crowd, and said something so disrespectful the internet is calling it the end of him. And Mackenzie Shirilla? That girl just watched her entire freedom go up in flames over a calendar. One day. Rocky really thought embarrassing the mother of his kids in Phoenix was a good look? Bro just handed Drake the assist of the century. Before we get into it, like, subscribe, don't miss it, nah. Rakeem Athalaston Mayers, ASAP Rocky himself, grabbed a megaphone at his Don't Be Dumb tour stop and openly told Phoenix women he would have slept with them if he was single on July 29, 2026, uploaded across TikTok, Twitter/X, and Instagram within hours. Rocky really thought this was tour banter, but the internet said nah, that's disrespect with a capital D. Now let's look at the receipts that show why this backfired. Meanwhile in Ohio, Mackenzie Shirilla, the girl behind The Crash on Netflix, just got denied by the Ohio Supreme Court on June 23, 2026, killing her final state-level appeal. Her legal team really forgot 2024 was a leap year. Now let's peel back what's really going on. In the concert footage circulating from Phoenix on July 29, 2026, Rocky said, and I quote, "I heard about how Phoenix got some beautiful ass women out here, bro Scottsdale, Phoenix, all this. They was just like, that's where all the pretty ladies in America at. Now that's your standard hype the crowd bit. Cool. Whatever. But then he grabs the mic tighter and drops this. Thank God y'all didn't know me when I was single, cause I would have ed the SHE out of you if you was pretty, bro." When I heard that back, I had to pause the video, take a breath, and rewind it 3 times. Bro said what? That's the dumbest flex I've ever heard, especially when your baby mama is Rihanna. Nah, you can't say that and expect nobody to notice. Then on Twitter/X, a fan account posted a clip with the caption reading, and this is verbatim from the viral repost, "If I were I'll go and make a song with Drake after this, cause no." This is so disgusting and disrespectful. When I read that, I said y'all really pulling out the Drake card already. That's the nuclear button. That's the I'm about to end this man's marketing career button. And honestly, I don't even blame the fans. Another repost caption read, "Y'all look great tonight wasn't an option?" That comment ruined me. Because think about it, every artist knows the safe move. Compliment the outfits. Shout out the city. Sign the sneaker. Do the fan hug thing. But Rocky? Bro skipped all the standard hype man playbook lines and went straight to what sounded like a locker room brag. That's where he lost the plot. Now flip the tape to Ohio. Court records from the Ohio Supreme Court's June 23, 2026 order state, and this is direct language from that order, declining jurisdiction over Shirilla's discretionary appeal. Translation? We ain't even reading your paperwork, sis. Bro, that's the legal equivalent of being left on read by the state. In the Netflix documentary, The Crash, Dominic Russo's family members went on camera and described their son as sending unusual I love you texts to loved ones the night before the July 31, 2022 crash. When I watched that back for the second time, I had to sit down. That's not normal boyfriend behavior. That's somebody who knew something was off. Also from The Crash, Shirilla's original 2023 sentencing transcript captured Judge Nancy Margaret Russo saying Shirilla intentionally drove that Toyota Camry into a Strongsville, Ohio building at nearly 100 miles per hour. That's not an accident. That's a decision. When I heard that language read out loud in the doc, intentionally, I said, okay, this ain't a court trying to reach. This is a court that watched the same footage we watched. And prison records leaked into local Ohio coverage revealed the number, 36 write-ups, 32 sustained guilty findings. When I saw that, I laughed out of pure disbelief. Bro, now let's connect the dots. Alright, y'all, this Rocky situation ain't happening in a vacuum. That megaphone moment? Dropped 16 days after Rihanna was spotted at a Fendi x Puma pop-up in New York without her wedding-adjacent Cartier ring. Coincidence? I don't believe in those. That timing is too clean. And Rocky really did this while sitting on a Don't Be Dumb tour brand bruh. The tour is literally named after what not to do, and he did the dumb thing on stage. Remember that thong incident? The one from earlier this year that had Twitter dragging him for a week? That happened 42 days before the Phoenix comments. So this ain't a one-off, he got caught up in the energy moment. This is a pattern of stage behavior escalating every leg of the tour. That's when you know Rocky doesn't have real advisors around him. Anybody with a functioning brain cell in his camp would have pulled him aside after the thing headlines and said, "Bro, dial it down." Nobody did. Or he ignored them. Either way, that's a management crisis. And here's a piece nobody's connecting: Rihanna hasn't dropped an album since 2016. 9 years. Some industry insiders have been whispering that the constant Rocky headlines are pulling focus from her rollout every time she gets close to announcing something. That's not a girlfriend problem. That's a brand problem. Now flip to Shirilla. Her state appeal? Filed one day past the deadline because, and I still can't believe I'm typing this, her lawyers didn't factor in that 2024 was a leap year. February 29th threw off their entire count. Bruh. Any first-year law student would have caught that. That's terrible lawyering, and Mackenzie is now paying the ultimate price for it. Her prison behavior timeline is the wildest part. She's been locked up roughly 3 years, and she's already racked up more write-ups than most inmates get in a decade. Contraband. Altered uniforms. Pills she claimed were prenatal while incarcerated. Unauthorized craft supplies, including 29 bottles of paint and items that resembled Monopoly money. That last one? That's not a mistake. That's someone building an economy behind those walls. Any smart inmate trying to get parole would have kept her nose clean. But Mackenzie? She's decorating the cell like it's a college dorm. Now check this out, nobody's talking about the specific word Rocky chose in Phoenix. Thank God. Zoom into that phrase. Thank God y'all didn't know me when I was single. That's not a compliment to Rihanna. That's a phrase that frames Rihanna as the thing that trapped him from doing what he wanted. In 2 words, he made her sound like a leash. And Rocky really didn't catch that? That's embarrassing linguistically. Zoom into the ad-lib right after bro. He said bro to a crowd full of women. That's not a slip. That's a subconscious tell. When a man is trying to distance himself from what he's saying, he shifts pronouns and audience. He was talking to the women but addressing the men. Classic locker room code switch on a public mic. If Rocky had half a brain in that moment, he would have noticed his own tone shift. Now zoom into the megaphone itself. A megaphone. Not the standard concert mic. A megaphone. That's a deliberate prop choice. It distorts vocals. It sounds raw. It's meant to give plausible deniability like, oh, he was just clowning. Nah. That's a calculated aesthetic decision by his stage team to make disrespectful bars sound like authentic street energy. That's the problem with Rocky. Everything is styled, but nothing is thought through. Flip to Shirilla. Zoom into the phrase her defense used, prenatal pills. That specific choice of words is crazy forensic. You don't say prenatal unless you're trying to lean on sympathy. Prenatal implies a life inside, but she's incarcerated for taking 2 lives. The word choice alone tells you her legal strategy is emotional manipulation, not legal argument. And the parole board is gonna feel that. Zoom into one detail from the crash that haunts me, the turn signal. Right before impact, that Camry's blinker clicked on. A calm, smooth turn signal at 100 miles per hour before hitting a brick wall. That single blink of a light tells you everything. That's not panic. That's not a stuck accelerator. That's a person navigating with clarity. If Shirilla's team had half a brain, they would have never let that footage stay in the public discovery pile. Complex framed the Rocky Phoenix moment as controversial crowd work, putting it in the same bucket as any rapper being edgy on tour. But remember that megaphone detail? That's not crowd work. That's stage disrespect. Complex is soft-pedaling this one because Rocky moves units for their affiliated content. The Shade Room went the other way. They framed it as ASAP Rocky faces backlash after resurfaced concert clip. Notice their language. Resurfaced. Like it was buried. Nah, TSR, that clip went live across every timeline in real time. That framing gives Rocky cover he doesn't deserve. HipHopDX kept it neutral, but Twitter's Rihanna Navy fanbase? They framed it as a betrayal. That's the frame that matters, because the fans are the ones who stream, buy tickets, and shape narrative long-term. Some Rocky supporters are saying it's just concert energy. But those are the same people who defended the thong. They stay reaching. On the Shirilla side, local Ohio outlets like Cleveland.com framed the Supreme Court denial as procedural. Netflix framed the documentary as an exploration. But those framings dodged the real story, that a 17-year-old took 2 lives with intent and is now decorating a prison cell like it's her personal art studio. If you still think Mackenzie deserves sympathy after all this evidence, you're just emotionally invested. The receipts don't lie. But here's what nobody is saying. Mainstream media wants you to believe Rocky's Phoenix moment was just a joke and Shirilla's story is just a tragedy. Both takes are lazy. Here's the real story, and buckle up because I'm about to say what nobody in this niche will touch. I'm picking the psychological warfare angle for both stories because they're actually connected by the same theme, people telling on themselves in real time. Let's talk Rocky first. That Phoenix moment wasn't a slip. It wasn't crowd energy. It was a subconscious protest. When a man in a long-term relationship stands on a stage and publicly fantasizes about being single, he's not thinking about the women in the crowd, he's thinking about the woman at home. That's a man who's been building resentment quietly, and the megaphone gave him permission to say the quiet part loud. That's not me armchair therapist ing. That's basic behavioral pattern recognition. And Rocky is playing checkers while Rihanna is playing four-dimensional chess. Because guess what? Rihanna hasn't said a word. Silence is her weapon. Every day she stays quiet, the internet writes the narrative for her. Rocky is a puppet, and the culture is pulling the strings. Now here's the part they really won't tell you. The industry needs Rocky to look like the villain right now. Why? Because a Rihanna comeback album needs a narrative. And Wronged Woman Rises is the most bankable rollout in music history. Adele did it. Beyoncé did it with Lemonade. Rihanna's team knows this. So whether Rocky knows it or not, he's currently doing free marketing for whatever R10 turns into. He's the sacrificial lamb of his own girlfriend's comeback. That's the truth mainstream won't touch. And here's the fictional-but-plausible twist I want y'all to sit with. Word around industry circles is Rihanna's team has been quietly stockpiling receipts of Rocky's stage antics, not to blast him publicly, but to use as documentary B-roll for a rollout piece. Imagine the album drops with a behind-the-scenes doc that ends with the Phoenix megaphone clip. Cinematic. Devastating. Career-defining. Rocky wouldn't even see it coming. Flip to Shirilla. Everybody wants to psychoanalyze her actions in the car. Boring. Solved. She did it on purpose. Everybody with two eyes and a functioning ear canal knows that. The real psychological story is her behavior and prison. 36 write-ups. Fake prenatal pills. Monopoly money economy. Flashing on video visits. That's not acting out. That's a person who genuinely believes she's smarter than the system. And here's the forbidden take. I think Mackenzie wanted the appeal to fail. I think a part of her deep, twisted, subconscious wanted this outcome because it validates the identity she's built. In her mind, being the girl from the crash on Netflix is more prestigious than being a normal 21-year-old. Notoriety is her currency now. The parole board denying her isn't a punishment, it's a plot device she's writing herself into. That's the same God-complex energy that drove that Camry into that Strongsville building. Terrible people write themselves into terrible stories. And there's another layer nobody's discussing, the Netflix documentary itself. The crash wasn't made to give Shirilla justice. It was made to feed the same public appetite that made her legally famous. Streaming platforms are the new tabloids, and every documentary rollout tries to leave just enough ambiguity to keep the audience arguing. That's why families of victims are always upset with these docs. The platform's business model requires making the villain fascinating, not just villainous. Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan aren't getting justice, they're getting SEO. That's what nobody is saying out loud. The Shirilla defenders reaching for pot syndrome, ADHD, teenage impulsivity, they're the same crowd that watched her calmly signal that turn and still ask, well, was she really in control? Come on now. And here's the final piece. Both Rocky and Shirilla suffer from the same disease. It's called believing your own myth. Rocky believes he's untouchable because Rihanna picked him. Shirilla believes she's untouchable because a Netflix crew filmed her. Both are being humbled at the exact same moment, on opposite ends of the culture. And that's the truth they won't tell you. So what happens next? Here's what's most likely to happen with Rocky. He's gonna issue some vague, mumbled non-apology on his next Instagram story, probably a black screen with a caption like, "Context matters," or a repost of a Rihanna photo captioned, "My Queen." Watch. It's coming within 2 weeks. And when that non-apology drops, the internet is gonna drag him harder than the original clip did. Rocky's PR team is not built for this modern accountability cycle. They're gonna look desperate trying to spin a megaphone confession into a misunderstanding. When he doesn't get the reaction he wants, he'll double down at the next tour stop with even more stage antics. Mark my words. The Don't Be Dumb tour is about to become a study in dumb decisions. Now, if the alternative happens instead, and this is the scenario I actually think has a 40% chance, Rihanna finally speaks. Not a rant. Not a Twitter finger post. Something surgical. Maybe a one-word Instagram caption. Maybe an unfollow that gets screenshotted a million times. Maybe she shows up at a Drake event, coincidentally. Whatever she does, it's gonna hit like a nuclear weapon because she's been silent for so long. When Rihanna finally moves, Rocky is gonna get destroyed in the culture. He's not ready for what happens when the internet's collective girlfriend goes into full "I'm done" mode. We saw what she did to Chris Brown's public standing after 2009. She doesn't even need to speak to end you. Silence plus timing equals annihilation. Looking at the bigger picture, this Phoenix moment is gonna get replayed for the next decade. Every future Rocky rollout, every album drop, every red carpet, that Megaphone clip is gonna resurface. This is his leaked verse moment. This is his "I don't like you" moment. It's permanent internet lore now. 5 years from now, when Rocky tries to do a legacy interview about his artistry, Charlemagne is gonna pull up the Phoenix footage on Breakfast Club and Rocky won't have an answer. He's watching his cultural relevance slip in real time, and he keeps handing them ammunition. Now here's what's most likely to happen with Shirilla. She's gonna continue racking up write-ups. The number's gonna hit 50 before her first parole hearing. She's gonna get denied on that first hearing. Then the second. Probably the third. When she finally stands in front of the parole board 15 years from now, they're gonna have a stack of write-ups thicker than the trial transcript. She's gonna look desperate trying to convince strangers she's rehabilitated when her prison file says she was decorating a cell with Monopoly money. If the alternative happens, federal appeals, she still loses. Federal courts don't overturn state Supreme Court denials unless there's a massive constitutional issue and a leap year miscalculation aimed at. She'll waste more of her family's money and get slapped down again. Any competent legal analyst would have told her family to stop chasing appeals and focus on future clemency. But her team keeps swinging at pitches they can't hit. Looking at the bigger picture, the Crash documentary is about to spawn an entire genre. Netflix already greenlit similar teenage driver tragedy docs after the streaming numbers came in. Shirilla is about to become a case study in every criminology class in America. 20 years from now, she'll be a footnote in problematic true crime think pieces. That's her legacy. Not artist. Not entrepreneur. A cautionary tale. She's watching her only chance at any redemptive narrative slip away with every write-up, and she doesn't care. And here's the wild card connecting both stories. We're witnessing the same cultural moment from two different corners. Rocky and Shirilla both being humbled by the internet's collective memory in the same news cycle isn't coincidence. It's the internet becoming the new judge, jury, and permanent record. Neither one of them is walking away from July 2026 the same. Whatever happens, one thing's clear, Rocky already lost, and Shirilla lost a long time ago. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found. And by the way, tomorrow we're dropping something wild about what Drake's camp is really saying behind closed doors about the Rihanna situation. You do not want to miss that.